Good evening. This is your host and executive producer, Dr. Eulaletta Johson-Picket, and this is the You Have a Right radio broadcast, which airs every Monday at 6:30. And we are so pleased to be back with you. And to all of our loyal listeners, we say thank you, thank you, thank you for listening each week. And for those of you who are new to our programming, we certainly hope that you stay throughout the program. And when it's over, you will have something that will make you come back each week. This, our goal in the You Have a Right radio programming is to inform you, to educate you, to motivate you, and certainly to inspire you. So every program should do one or more of those things for you. And this evening we're going to target the female population, but we don't want the males to think that we have forgotten them, because some of the pointers that we will make will certainly help to expand your life and give you tools to navigate the waters of your life. So it is that we have a wonderful, wonderful person that has done some wonderful things, and she has been blessed to put her information in print. And she is an author, a relationship specialist, a speaker, and she's going to share with you some of the other parts of her roles, and you will certainly be blessed. And I would suggest that you get paper and pencil or pen and let everybody in your household know that this program is worth listening to. So to this evening we have Mrs. Debra Clifton Mitchell. So I say to you, good evening, Mrs. Mitchell.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's indeed a pleasure, because what you have done, your products, your project is definitely in keeping with the role of the You Have a Right radio program, to inform, to educate, to motivate, and to inspire. And since we are concerned about our females and the direction that they are going or not going, what you have done will certainly benefit our listeners. So share with them something about your background, and then we will go into talking about your book on Where Are Your Standards.
Certainly. My name again is Debra Mitchell, and I am a relationship expert, a motivational speaker, and an award-winning author. I'm passionate about helping women with healthy relationships, and I know sometimes we don't get the right guidance, so I like to just change and help women raise their standards. And that's the name of my book, Where Are Your Standards? And the second one is called Center of Attention.
Wonderful. Now, share with our listening audience how you got into being an author.
Okay.
What motivated you? Because let me share with our audience. Debra is indeed multifaceted. She is educated. She's degreed. She is a businesswoman. She is a mother. She is a spouse. So she has a husband. And she does multiple things. She has multiple roles. And that I said because many of you that are listening relate to having many, many roles on your platter. So as you listen to her, understand that just like she accomplished, you can too. So proceed, Debra.
Yes, ma'am. The reason I started to write the books is because I was a mentor for many girls for about 25 years. And I realized my girls were academically sound, they were spiritually sound, but they were emotionally deficient. They did not come from functional homes. Sometimes there was no men in the home. So when they turned 18, their mom said, go find a husband, but they had no reference. So they didn't really know how to go about doing that. So I really wanted to train my daughters that dating is an art. And if you have to weed out the people that are not a fit for you, and you're looking for someone who's equally yoked.
Well, that's so true, but now what happens when your circle does not provide other than?
Yes, ma'am. You have to go outside of your circle. My grandmother told me when I was 18, your husband doesn't live on this block. You're going to have to go further. So you're going to have to go out. And really how you go about dating is doing the things that are natural for you to do. A woman is not supposed to look for a man, it's vice versa. So,
and that's based on what?
When you have activities or your occupation, there's men in those environments. And you need to find someone that you have something in common with in order to have at least a conversation to develop into a relationship and maybe a marriage down the road.
When you said that, when you alluded to the fact that women should not be looking but men should,
Yes, ma'am.
in the religious circles, they always quote the scripture that he who finds a wife
Finds a good thing.
yes, and embedded in that scripture comes out that just what you said. And we believe that, don't we?
Yes,
we
ma'am.
quote it. But we now have a large population, and it's growing as we speak, of those who are not exposed to biblical teaching.
Yes.
This country was founded on puritanical ethics, and so we got passages of the Bible that were given to us to control our behavior.
Yes.
Now you get hip-hop lyrics that control your behavior. Am I right?
And MTV.
And MTV and what's another one, Danielle?
BET.
VH1.
Yes. And we have an overwhelming amount of messages that are contradictory to the puritanical ethic that this country was based on. Now, so when we talk about this, we have to say, how do we provide the interventions that will bring these populations to the table and whet their appetite?
Yes, ma'am. You know, as you mentioned with MTV and VH1, they have no standards. Anything goes. You can wear anything, you can do anything. Those are not long-lasting relationships. What we're looking for is women who want to be wives and mothers and have long-term relationships. I've been married 30 years. I know you've been married many years. It's very possible for you to have a long-term relationship in a marriage that's happy. Both my children are now adults. But I was asked years ago, you know, do they have the same father? These questions shouldn't come up. If you're in a happily married family, all those children are nuclear. Those are regular mom and dad, no stepdad, no stepmom. Because children that come from step families often are mistreated or neglected because those are the stepchildren.
There you go. And the shape of the family, the configuration of the family has now changed. When I was coming up, I saw the components of what was called intact family.
Yes, ma'am.
When I was matriculating through my degree pieces, the term intact was used.
Yes.
Now you don't hear that. You just hear that families come in all different forms, and we are to not only tolerate but accept.
Yes.
And so it is that your book covers what phases of these kinds of relationships. Would you tell our audience what your book entails?
Yes, ma'am. The book is called Where Are Your Standards? And I cover several chapters of real-life relationships. So the women in these stories are all real-life stories, and they come from all walks of life. They're between the ages of 18 to 67, and I gave them a platform to tell their story, to help perhaps save someone's life, change someone's lives, and raise their standards. So some of the chapter titles are Dating a Married Man, Dating or Marrying an Ex-Con.
Can I interject something?
Yes,
when I
ma'am.
picked up the book and I went through the table of content, I read the entire table, and then I came back to number 1, and I started reading those stories, and I got swept away.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. These women look just like you and I.
There you
They
go.
are regular women, but they've made a lot of choices that put them what I call below standards, and then they have to try to get themselves out of these situations.
There you go.
But some of the other chapter titles are Dating or Marrying a Lazy, Unmotivated Man, Dating or Marrying a Control Freak, Dating or Marrying a Man with No Job, This one I really have trouble with because I think a man's supposed to support his family.
Mm-hmm.
Dating or marrying a man that won't commit to marriage. Dating a man with several baby
Well,
mamas.
now let me interject something else. Let me
Okay.
ask this question. Dating or or what's the one that doesn't want to commit to marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
How long should you date that person before you realize that they are not committed to marriage?
I think that's an excellent question. I think women should realize you can't change a man, you can't fix him, you can't cure him. So what you see within the first, 3 months is really what you have. So if 3 months you don't have common goals, you're not talking about a future together, this gives you an idea he's not interested in that. So I know some women that would wait and wait and wait and wait, and you wind up waiting 10 years and you're still boyfriend and girlfriend, but you want a family. Or you may have a child out of wedlock thinking that's going to attract him, and that doesn't. That probably scares away more men when they find out that they have these babies on the way that they don't want. So I think if after the 3-month period, you would get an idea whether this person's interested in you or not.
And something about the word self-esteem, self-confidence comes to mind in that kind of situation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I agree with that. I think that if you don't have any self-worth, then as I said in my book, you're like a wounded animal in the wild. All the animals prey on you because you have no standards. And it really is not their fault. I get the question all the time, aren't you upset with how bad that man treated her? And I always respond by, I'm more upset with her because she didn't get out of that situation. She did not have enough self-confidence. And if she has children, she's teaching the children the same thing because we are our children's first and best teacher. It doesn't matter what you learn from Mrs. Smith in 3rd grade math. It's what you see at home with mom and dad throughout your formative years, throughout your teenage years. And then once you leave home, this is who their foundation has been set. So when you don't have self-esteem, it hurts your whole family, especially the little girls that are watching them. I have a chapter in here about dating or marrying an abusive man. When you stay in these relationships and you see if your daughter see you getting pushed down the stairs or slapped around, or there's verbal abuse, getting called all kind of names. There's psychological abuse with the manipulation and the lying. All these forms are what I call below standards, and I don't want the next generation to grow up and think that's the norm.
I remember doing a presentation for the Southwest Women's Group, and they are no longer functioning, but they were one of the best programs in the Chicagoland area that dealt with abused women. And my presentation dealt with Eve was not created to be abused.
Correct. I love that.
And that is for real.
Yes.
No matter what your circumstances, you were not created to be abused.
I always say love doesn't hurt.
No,
If this man said he loves you, then why did he push you down the stairs? Or why do you have black eyes? Or why is he not supporting you and your children? That's not what love is.
Well, now, I think before the program started, we were discussing love, and I said, if you have never experienced love, then you don't know what love is.
Right.
And there needs to be an intervention such as your book, such as what we're doing this evening, such as your presentations when you speak, where people are made aware of what love is and how it feels, what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And too often, the people who are most needy do not get what they need.
Right.
And that's awful, but what can we say?
Right. They look for love in all the wrong places. And they wind up being one of the stories in this book. And I do have a chapter here that says, marrying a man you barely know. And some of these women are trying to run from a bad situation, and they run right into an unhealthy marriage.
Yes, they have not healed.
So that's just taking that baggage from one situation to the other, and then it's just accelerated because now you have a relationship that's doomed from day one. And they probably added children to it, so now you have children in the middle of that.
Right. And you add sex to what is already faulty.
Yes.
If the dichotomy is not strong and you add additional weight to the dichotomy and make it a trichotomy or quad, and you just keep expanding, but you never build a foundation to handle the weight. Ashes, ashes all fall down.
Right.
And many of us don't analyze that way. We do feelings. Another thing I've always said about females, we fall too fast and stay too long.
Yes, ma'am. You can say that again.
We fall too fast and stay too long.
Yes.
We're emotional beings.
Right.
And I always encourage my daughter to be more analytical.
Yes.
And I told her, don't put yourself into compromising situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I defined what compromising situations are. Mm-hmm. And then make sure now that you don't add sexual activity to a relationship that's already doomed from the beginning. Because it alters your ability to see clearly.
Right, and then it reduces your self-esteem because you think something's wrong with you.
There you go.
As opposed to going back to the first thing we said earlier, is that you can't change him, you can't fix him, you can't cure him. And I think that's why women stay so long. They think if I just keep working with him, he'll change. That's never going to change. Okay,
now, do we have any other chapters?
Yes, ma'am. Playing house, living with a man you're not married to. This one really bothers me because the million-dollar question that I always ask the women are, why are you good enough to share your resources and your body, but you're not good enough to be called Mrs. Jones? Girlfriends are not covered on insurance, so you're not a friend with benefits because you get no benefits.
There you go.
So I want them to understand that's not a good thing. And if a man honors you, then he wouldn't want to be shacking up with you. He would like to have you as his wife.
You know, every time that subject comes up, I go to my childhood. My family owned a mortuary in the south suburban area. We were the only black company. Mm-hmm. And I would hear stories about people who had played house for years. And for whatever the reason, they were able to convince the whole town
that they were married.
Yes. And when the man died, guess what? There was nothing coming to the lady who had played this false role all these years.
So there are no benefits. There are no benefits.
And then not only was she sad and grieving, she was also embarrassed.
Yes. But again, she lowered her standards by not requiring marriage. So just because a man asks you to move in with him doesn't mean you have to do it. You have a choice.
Yes.
And say, I'm not moving in with you because I want to be married.
There you go.
If you make that requirement or a standard, then you would be in that situation. I do have a couple other chapters I want to mention too. Dating or marrying a man with a substance abuse problem. Gambling, alcohol, drug addicted. Dating a man with a complicated...
When I read that, I thought sex, because that's a problem too.
Yes, ma'am. So a man with all these issues and baggage, you think you can love him through that, but he has to be willing to make the change. People can change, but that's an internal thing. Yes. I can't make you change, but you can change yourself. So if he's going to, say, Alcoholics Anonymous, and he's been clean for 3 or 4 years, and you see he's holding down a job, he's responsible, then that's somebody that I think has really made a change, as opposed to somebody who says, I can stop drinking when I want to, but he can't hold a job, bills are not paid,
in denial.
And then you constantly fighting with him.
Yes.
I don't think that's a healthy relationship for yourself, especially for the children who are watching this. And then dating a man with a complicated occupation. That's just another word for illegal activity. Because they will come in and seize everything.
Again. Complicated occupation. Okay.
So that's illegal activity.
All right.
And some of the women who wrote about, when I wrote about that chapter, everything that they owned was seized. And they had to go to court to try to prove that they weren't the ones in this occupation. But it was a big fiasco. But if you see this man has all these items and all these possessions, but you have to ask yourself, where are you getting this from? If it's not legitimate.
One of my guests has been a judge of a civil court. And one of the things that she stressed when she was here is that women many times are weak and they get caught up with drugs and illegal things in their purse, and they rescue their lover,
Right.
and they are the ones that then come to court and stand before her.
Right.
And she warned the women to be very, very careful of who you keep company with and what kinds of packages you accept.
Yes, because you're bringing that turmoil into your family, and you could wind up doing time for illegal activity, and that you were just maybe not an accomplice, not even a willing accomplice, didn't even know about it.
That's right.
But as my dad told me when I was a teenager, birds of a feather flock together. So if you're doing that kind of thing, that
All
can
right.
happen.
Okay, so what is the takeaway from this book that will encourage our listeners to purchase the book?
The takeaway is to look at the stories of the women who've experienced the different scenarios that we've talked about. And then I also give advice on how to regain your standards. So if you're dating, for example, a lazy, unmotivated man, I'll just pick one, then I'll show you how to regain your standards and see the truth about the situation, because you want to not have your whole life being spent making mistake after mistake after mistake. So if you can learn from your mistake, regain your standards, and do better the next time. So the takeaway that you'll get is that every chapter gives you some advice on how to see the truth and how to regain your standards. And then I always ask you, where are your standards? Because every woman has her own set of standards. But if you don't have any at all, you're like a wounded animal.
I appreciate your format and how you laid that out, because this is a book that you can use as a reference. You don't have to try to sit down and read cover to cover. And then you can also take notes and start to be self-analytical as to where have you been, where are you now, and where are you going. I applaud you, Miss Mitchell. You did a good job.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you as a guest. Now, in our next few minutes, let's talk about the center of attention, how to find the right man and become his center of attention, and that's positive attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This book was written a few years ago. It's a dating handbook. It's a very short read, and it is for women who are entering into the dating scenario. And this book is to try to get you to think about things before you get yourself too far into them. So, for example, are you ready to be in a relationship? If you're a high school or college woman or in your young 20s, you may not have time to be in a relationship if you are focusing on school or a career. Then I have a chapter looking for love. Are you going to the clubs? That's not where you're going to find a good husband. The bars, that's not a good place. So where are you looking for love? And another one is identifying abusive relationships, because abuse comes in several forms. I'm sure most women understand physical abuse, but there's verbal abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's economical abuse, there's financial abuse. Those are the kinds of relationships you want to avoid. Talk a little bit about intimacy, and you talk about not adding sex into the relationship. Dating is a weeding out process. No one expects you to date the whole community, nor to be intimate with the whole community. So I think women need to understand that date does not necessarily mean intimacy. It shouldn't mean that. And I have a slogan in my book that says, if you date a man that's wrong for you, he's not your boo, he's your boo-boo.
Now, let me, and I agree with that in more than one way. But we have a few minutes, and this is prom season.
Yes, ma'am. Sure is.
And we know what today's activities are with prom. For whatever reason, people think that prom includes the kinds of activities that could ruin a girl's life for the rest of her life.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what we're saying to you, be careful. Know that you're better than that.
Yes.
And that your life decisions, your decisions now tell your future what to do. Mm-hmm. Now, real quick, tell us about this book.
Okay, again, the one is called Center of Attention. And this book really gives you the sort of a blueprint on how to go about finding a good relationship and then how to keep it alive. But there's a chapter in here about get prepared to do your homework. And this is where I want you to spend some time dating the person and understanding the person before you decide that this is a person you want to settle down with and have children. And I have another chapter that says a child won't make a marriage last. Because some women feel like if I have a baby with him, he'll marry me and we'll live happily ever after.
Big mistake.
Huge mistake. So you can learn you don't have to be a statistic and be an unmarried mother.
Now, where can they get these books? How can they contact you?
Okay. The books are available on Amazon.com, and they can also contact me via my website, www.classy, C-L-A-S-S-Y, Debra, D-E-B-R-A.com.
Repeat that.
Okay, website, www.classy, C-L-A-S-S-Y, Debra, D-E-B-R-A.com. You can always email me as well, Debra, D-E-B-R-A, Mitchell, M-I-T-C-H-E-L-L 78 at yahoo.com. If you prefer a phone call, that's fine with me, 708-807-1136.
Now, we have certainly put it out there for you, listeners, and we hope that whatever piece that you grabbed a hold to will help you to develop the tools to navigate the waters of your life. And so it is that we thank you for listening, and we want you to know that this program is indeed supported by our listeners, and you can make contributions to Post Office Box 1433, Homewood, Illinois 60430. Post Office Box 1433, Homewood, Illinois 60430, and you can write it to address it to the You Have a Right radio talk show, or to Dr. E.J. Pickett, and we certainly appreciate you, Mrs. Debra Clifton Mitchell.
My pleasure.
And we applaud you for beginning a project, following your heart, and finishing it and putting it out there so that others can profit from your goals and your hard work. We appreciate you and certainly hope that in the future we can have you back again.
I'd love to return. Thank you so much.
All right, and we thank Danielle. Danielle has a business. Do you want to tell us about your business in 2 seconds?
Sure. My brand is called Average Black Girl. You can reach me at averageblackgirl.org, and it is all about encouraging young girls specifically to start their business while they're still in school and working full time. I feel like everybody should have a side hustle, and I just encourage people to do generational wealth. So from marketing.
All right. Yeah. So her forte is marketing.
Yes.
And if you need some marketing, you can contact her through Mrs. Mitchell also. Now, as always, I say, no matter what it is you have done, know that there's so much more for you to do. So you speak of things that are not as though they were, and you act as a person of achievement, walk forth as a person of accomplishment, because you indeed have a right. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.
All right, we did, John.